Alright, this is question 4, homework number 6. So for A, this one's relatively easy. At point A, it's the same height as the initial spot, so it'd be the same velocity. And then for B, you have to know that there's an X and a Y velocity, because the Y velocity obviously changes because there's gravity, the work of gravity, because it's moving downwards. So we need to consider these separately. So first, we know the change in energy work is equal to the change in gravity, the gravitational force. And we know what gravitational force is. It's mg times h. And in this case, h is h over 2 because it's changing by 1/2 of h from A to B. So then we need to set this equal to the energy. And energy is kinetic energy, and kinetic energy equals 1/2 mv squared. So after you find out the gravitational force, gravitational potential energy, you need to set it equal to the kinetic energy. Gravitational energy is just mg times 1/2 of h, whatever your numbers are. So then you set them equal, and then you just plug in your variables for m and your velocity. You're trying to find your velocity, so you plug in your m, and you should get velocity. So why is it vy here? Because this change in gravity is only in the y direction, so only the vy, the velocity in the y direction, changes. So this is not your answer. You actually still need to consider the fact that we had a vx. What's our vx? Our initial velocity of vx was going the x direction. So using the Pythagorean theorem, you use x squared plus the y squared equals your total velocity squared. Then you should get your actual total velocity. And then for C, it's very similar, except for the work by gravity, the gravitational potential energy change. It's not h. It's h, not 1/2 h. In my case, it's 44 meters. So we do the exact same process. mgh equals work. Kinetic energy equals work. 1/2 mv vy squared equals whatever your work is. Then we simplify it. We find vy. Then we take vy squared plus vx squared, which is just the initial velocity squared, equals your final velocity squared, and then you find the final velocity. Same process as B. For D, the cart's moving up. So remember, when something's moving up, gravity does negative work, but the work and the kinetic energy are still the same. So the change of height, you could start from any point, but I'm going to use the point C, because the change of height is just a 0 plus whatever it changes by, because at C it's conveniently 0. You could use any point, but I'm going to use C as my base because it's on the ground. So we set up the kinetic energy equals the gravitational work. I divide both sides by m, and then times both sides by 2. No, I didn't times both sides by 2. I just divided both sides by m. And then I plug in my velocity at point C, because I chose point C as my base. And I got 1/2 this squared equals g of h. And then I find h. So this h is how many meters it changed from point C. And since point C was on the ground, it goes up by this much, and that should be your answer.